Homes. Our housing market is messed up.
Oh, yes, it is.
And this is kind of a little bit of an issue for us potentially because we've made no secret to anybody who knows us that in a couple of years we want to go to Home 2.0. That's what we call it, Home 2.0. Basically, we want a place in the middle of nowhere where we can do our own thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully the market is a little better by then.
Hopefully.
But at the moment, it's a little bit messed up because, first off, home prices have surged 47% since the start of 2020. That's a faster pace than the 1990s or the 2010s. The 2010s, you'll recall, were hot, super hot, and then we had the crash in 2008, and it all came tumbling down.
Uh-huh.
That 2020 number is all because of the pandemic.
Yes, where we hacked interest rates down to the prime rate down to 0, which made for cheap money, and now we have a problem. So I'm going to skip through this article a little bit because there's a bunch of things that don't particularly need to be talked about. But here's a couple of issues that I see. Says there's a number of driving forces behind the spike in prices. First, years of underbuilding fueled a shortage of homes in the country, a problem that was later exacerbated by the rise in mortgage rates and expensive construction materials. There was an underbuilding of homes after 2008.
Yes.
Yeah.
The neighborhood that we live in right now was actually a victim of that.
Yes.
It was partially built out before that crash of 2008. They built like half of this place.
And then they just stopped.
And then they just stopped. And the other half of the neighborhood sat dormant for a decade.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 2017 when they started building again, which is actually when our home was built, was in 2017. But if you walk down the roads, every now and then you'll see on the sidewalk where they've got a date stamp of when it was laid. It was laid in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So it just, everything sat. So the underbuilding was definitely a problem because there was a whole plan here. Here in Arizona, we had whole communities besides this one, some that were started and never finished and eventually just got bulldozed because it was all a mess. So
And
that's a problem.
Tons of those builders and construction companies went under in that whole mess in 2008 too.
Yeah, we had 5 builders and 3 of them went bankrupt
Yeah.
here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Jeez.
In 2008. So that was a problem. So that's the thing, the underbuilding. And then it says available home supply remains down a stunning 34% from the typical amount before COVID-19. So yeah, that's really down. Mortgage rates over the past 3 years have also created a golden handcuff effect in the housing market. Sellers who locked in a record low mortgage rate of 3% or less during the pandemic have been reluctant to sell, limiting further supply and leaving few options for eager would-be buyers. And honestly, that's what I'd like to discuss right there. Because we're in a pickle. Because if you own a home and you're in one of those low rates, as the article points out, you can't afford to get out of it, to upgrade if you want to. Because your mortgage rate going into the new home isn't going to be 3%.
No.
It's going to be like 8.
8, yeah.
Now, if you don't mind me being humble for a second here, I'm going to need a little bit of a lesson. I kind of don't know what a mortgage is.
Okay. We can work on that. It's a loan. It's a loan against your house.
Okay, loan against your house.
Generally, these days, it's like a 30-year thing.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And you need to put a certain percentage down. There's different government programs that can help you with that down payment in some cases. There's a lot of ways it can be done. But basically, your mortgage is your home payment that you make every month if you own your home.
Okay.
So, but the issue is that the interest rate attached to that is a big deal. Because if you think about it, let's say you're going for a $300,000 home, which in our market is a low-end home right now. Mm-hmm. But let's say $300,000, there is a huge difference in payment every month. And I'm not going to pull up a mortgage calculator right now to figure it out, but trust me, there's a big difference between a 3% and an 8% interest rate and what that'll do to your payment. We're talking hundreds, if not 1,000 or more a month difference in your payment. Lord. So if you own a home that you bought during that pandemic time when the rates were so low, You can't get out of that right now because financially you'll kill yourself, because
Well,
for you to
unless-
jump into that home, you're not taking that low rate with you to your next home.
Unless you got some sort of job promotion that,
Yeah.
warrants it.
Yeah, I mean,
But in
there's
very few
times when you
cases,
have to
yeah.
move. Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, based off of what you're saying, and if I'm misinterpreting it, let me know. But you stick with that rate when you own the home, or does the rate fluctuate?
Well, it depends on how your mortgage is written, but
Okay.
most people have
a
at
static
that
rate?
time we're writing at a fixed rate.
Yes.
Okay, so it's static. Okay.
Yeah. So as long as they're making their payments, they don't default, anything like that, and it doesn't go into foreclosure, they're fine. Okay. So they're locked into that cheap money, but they're also handcuffed into that home because it's very expensive for them to move out. But then on the flip side, your problem is because they're not selling.
Nobody's gonna buy.
Yeah, there's not the inventory out there for the buyers because it's those lower priced homes, for example, that get onto the market for new people in their 20s and early 30s and stuff who are looking to buy their first home. Those houses aren't available because the people who are in them, who got in them at the lower rates, they can't get out of them because it'll kill them.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I understand
it
the problem
creates
here.
it creates a stagnation from both sides.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, and you're smart, Beth, how in the world does that break? Because I don't know.
Well, not to be morbid, I guess, but at some point the elderly people leave and those homes become available. That outside of building more homes, that's the only thing I can see is when the older generation hits a point where they either need to move in with family to be taken care of or move into a nursing home or something like that. Those are the homes that are going to be available on the market.
Correct. And I actually read a separate article about that a couple of weeks ago. And there's some pluses and minuses to that. One of the things that was pointed out is it's becoming more and more common that the next generation doesn't hold on to that home because they've all, especially now in the modern society where everybody's moving in different directions and there's not as much staying close to home, they don't have a need for that property. So
Yep.
it gets sold off. The issue becomes, so there's going to be this glut of inventory for sure. The issue becomes that these generally aren't the starter homes. So, I mean, there's some that are at the lower end, but
Yeah.
often it's middle or higher end by the time they get to that age. So that's a problem, that it's not necessarily matching what the market would need. And then you still have the problem of the interest rate, which the Fed doesn't see fit to lower. They were supposed to look at lowering it this month, and they didn't.
And they didn't.
Because inflation looks like it's still running too hot to do that.
Unless I'm mistaken, I thought I read somewhere that there were some lenders who were actually doing even longer term loans than 30 years in order to try to get some people into some of those higher end homes.
I don't know. Let's see.
I could be totally mistaken. I may have misread, but I thought I had seen that somewhere.
Let's check.
40
Lending Tree. What is a 40-year mortgage and how to get one? Let's-
See? I did read
God.
something.
You did read something. All right.
But
A
that's-
40-year mortgage is like a traditional 15 or 30, but it offers extended repayment term. Having 10 more years to pay off your loan can give you lower monthly payments, but you'll pay far more in interest. Yeah, well, that's a given.
Yeah. But
It's-
that's a way that they can get the newer generation into those more expensive homes.
Well, as it says right now, maybe not. It's possible to get a 40-year mortgage, but it's not as simple as a traditional 15 or 30. 40 years aren't a common option for borrowers in good financial standing who simply are looking for a longer term. Instead, lenders typically use 40-year loans as a loan modification option. This is when the lender extends a struggling homeowner's existing loan and then recalculates the loan. So they're throwing it out there as an option instead of
Foreclosure.
foreclosure,
Okay.
which
So
may
it-
make sense because, again, does a bank want to sit on that property? Because
No.
they'll
No,
have
they don't
trouble
want it either.
offloading it.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Who knows? Maybe we'll start getting 100-year mortgages.
Generational kind of loans.
That sounds
Lock
scary.
in your children as well.
Yeah, right.
That sounds scary, but
Yeah.
sounds like something that would happen at
Well,
one point. or
In
another.
In China, you don't own the land. You sign like a 90-year lease, and it actually can pass down to family members.
Ooh,
But the government owns all the land. But that's their equivalent of purchasing.
That's interesting and
Yeah.
spooky.
A little bit.
Don't like that.
This is just I pulled this one up, number one, because we needed a topic.
Yeah.
but as well, it's something I'd been watching anyways, because it's, especially if we want to move in a couple of years, something has to give here, unless we're just cash buyers. But even then, the prices are way inflated over where they should be. The interest rates are way inflated. I guess what's going to give first? It's probably going to be prices that give first, to be honest, and people are going to take a bath if they try to sell their homes, because a lot of people are. This is going to be another short sale situation like we had back in 2009 after the crash, where everybody's trying to sell their house for less than what they owe and making a deal with the bank to make that okay, so the bank avoids a foreclosure and doesn't have to sit on the property themselves.
History repeats itself. That's the most likely scenario.
Yeah, or it at least rhymes. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll find a nice deal on a foreclosure or a short sale or something like that, and we'll just hand them cash money and not have to worry about the interest rate.
Or some ghost house. It's like possessed.
Ghost house.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that.
Okay.
Remind me later, ghost stuff. All right. So, dear listener, if you know what direction this whole housing debacle is going to take, let us know. My guess is crashing down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think prices are gonna tumble, and short sales are gonna happen, and then eventually the Fed's gonna have to lower the rate anyways, just to keep the market moving. But we'll see.
Yeah.
And if it works out, we might actually time that right on our end. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and join us every Monday and Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific for our live show.